Is it possible for Yemen to move towards a new future united, or will the forces that are advocating a division of the country win in the end? This man is now considered one of the most important figures in this respect, Ali Salim al-Beidh. He once held a top political position in former South Yemen as General Secretary of the Yemeni Socialist Party. When Yemen united in 1990, Ali Salim al-Beidh became Vice President, serving alongside its new ruler, President Ali Salim. But in 1993, al-Beidh quit the government and returned to the former southern capital of Aden, claiming that the new government was ignoring the needs of the south, in particular its deep poverty. His attempt to cede from the Union failed at that point, forcing him to leave for Oman, where he stayed for many years. He declared himself leader of al-Harak, the southern separatist movement, and called for the re-establishment of South Yemen. And since the Yemeni President Ali Salim was forced out of office in November following massive protests and violence, al-Beidh's efforts have only gathered steam. The leader of the movement to split Yemen has stayed out of the media limelight, until now, as he agrees to talk to ALJAZEERA. Mr. Ali Salim al-Beidh joins us from the Lebanese capital, Beirut. You're the head of the secessionist movement in southern Yemen. You have long called for secession, you worked for secession, and you fought for secession. Do you think that you can achieve this goal? How realistic is it?
First, I welcome you here. And I prefer to answer in Arabic so that I can express myself exactly.
With respect to the current status of the uprising in southern Yemen, the peaceful protests, I joined the movement there in 2008. Since then, I've been working with my fellow Yemenis inside Yemen and abroad to take it to another level. I believe we are advancing as we are working with all our fellow citizens there to keep this up. This peaceful uprising, I want to say, represents a huge popular movement, and it embraces the whole political spectrum, covering all the areas of the occupied South Yemen. Now, we are making progress, specifically after the referendum on February the 21st of this year, when the people of the South demonstrated their refusal to recognize the president who had been appointed under the Gulf Cooperation Council initiative. Following this, we ushered in another phase, which is to galvanize and reinvigorate the civil society, including political syndicates and unions, in various sectors such as education, engineering, and healthcare. It's a new formula. This is part of a democratic movement. When the Workers' Association in the South is established and demands to be separated from its counterpart in Sana'a, we show this is a popular demand to be achieved through our efforts. All these organizations are in this qualifying phase, and within a very short time, I hope by the end of the current month, this big task can be completed across the whole of occupied South Yemen.
You say that it was a success because people stayed away or boycotted the presidential elections in the South, but other people would tell you that, yes, the nationwide turnout was 60%, but force was used to prevent people from voting in the South. How would you respond to that?
Not at all. That did not happen in any part of occupied South Yemen. The people genuinely rejected and boycotted this throughout the South, even in Socotra Island. In all the areas of the South up to Bab al-Mandab Strait, people refrained from voting. This represented a huge leap forward on February the 21st and took our movement to a higher level. Our call to reject the election was heeded by the entire population of the South.
في طول وعرض الجنوب.
No doubt there is sentiment in southern Yemen for secession, but how viable do you think it is, especially since there isn't much international support for southern Yemen seceding from Yemen?
We are not working for the sake of secession. We merely demand to restore our state, which had earlier concluded a voluntary agreement for union with the Yemen Arab Republic. This agreement was made voluntarily on May the 22nd, 1990. When we headed to Sana'a, we did not find anyone appreciating this huge achievement, which we had always dreamt of, one unified Yemen. We demand to restore the southern state of Yemen, which had existed before 1990, but not in the same form it had at that time, but rather a formula acceptable to all segments of the fabric of society in the south, not under the earlier constitutional system, but under a new system built on the demands of people at the grassroots level, so that it will embrace all segments of society, to let all the people have a final say with respect to a constitution and their own future. The voluntary union we had achieved earlier was hijacked by the regime in Sana'a, whereby the south was totally isolated and left to battle on its own. The ruling regime, by virtue of tribal and military alliances with other dark forces such as Al-Qaeda and the Reform Party, Islah, managed to mobilize all these forces against the south, waged battles there, and ended up occupying the south, dictating their own terms and not those that had been agreed upon. They violated the union agreement and throttled the union at birth. So we are not calling for secession, but to restore and reinstate our state that gained independence from Britain in 1967.
Have any countries expressed sympathy with your cause? I mean, can you name the countries who support your cause?
We cannot name any, but all I know is that our cause is becoming more and more important. In the past, there were constant attempts to obscure what we are doing. The peaceful demonstrations gained momentum by the popular struggle, which is all-inclusive in the south. On this basis, we are talking to states around the world, the UN, the Arab League, and other international organizations, in order to restore our identity and the membership we had with them up until May 1990.
You spent many years in Oman, and there are those who say you lost your right to stay after you were involved in protests and violence in southern Yemen. Are you pulling the strings now from Lebanon?
I stayed there because of compelling circumstances, and in 2009 I came out and I thanked the Yemanis, chiefly Sultan Qaboos, for his generous hospitality and kind attention to me. However, since 2008 I have been abroad but working with our people in the south, particularly the peaceful grassroots demonstrations. I believe these circumstances are now over and we are in a new era after 2008. And I can say, whether from Beirut or any other place in the world, I will continue to promote and justify our cause to the world. We can claim that the public has started to realize what we are doing. For example, you came now, better late than never. You are here, and we are laying out to you our vision. We are prepared to shed light on the current situation with you and other media organizations. The cause was obscured. Our people of the South had a grievance, which is slowly coming to light. I believe we are on the right path.
So you keep talking about your movement being a peaceful one, yet there are so many reports coming out of southern Yemen talking about, and I'm quoting, Harak militants who are either carrying out attacks against Yemeni security forces, and that you do have a few hundred men who are lightly armed. Are you using the gun as well to try to achieve your goals?
أبدا هذا إخراج.
No, not at all. That's wrong. This is all fabricated by the regime. Our peaceful uprising is still peaceful, and it will remain that. However, we say if the occupier assaults us, people have the right to defend themselves. But until now, the uprising is still peaceful, chanting this slogan every day. I hope the regime will not continue its policy of battering, persecuting, detaining. Dozens of brigades are deployed in the south without necessity. Our struggle is and will remain peaceful. And I believe that all those who have fallen so far, more than 1,700 martyrs, were victims to oppression, brutality and injustice. They did not do anything wrong, nor were they carrying arms. They were merely demanding the restoration of their own state, which had entered into the Union in 1990.
You spoke about our revolution in the South. Do you see the revolution in the South different from the uprising witnessed in Yemen as a whole?
We started our struggle on July the 7th, 2007. Before that, there were several attempts which were smothered and stifled. Since the uprising was triggered, we feel that our cause has become prominent, gaining supporters within the country and abroad. We have offered sacrifices, not only those killed, but also thousands wounded, in addition to thousands of detainees by the occupier regime in Sana'a.
How much did the uprising in Yemen help your cause? How much were you able to benefit from the fact that the government was bogged down in trying to clamp down on the protest movement? How did your movement benefit from the uprising?
First of all, our peaceful revolution started early, before the Arab Spring. This right is reserved for us, the Southerners. I believe the movement is gaining momentum and prominence. It also gains voluntary popular support, simply because our movement does not have any means, material or weapons, to force people to respond. Yet it is our cause that is gaining support through the majority of the people. And I am not going over the top if I say that more than 90% of the people of the South are for restoring their state and their independence.
Has it been easy to operate in Lebanon? I understand you do run an online satellite television channel here in the country. Where do you get the funding?
We launched this channel about 3.5 years ago with the support of expatriate Yemenis and through simple means, through the internet. After that, we received further support as expatriate Yemenis were supporting us. Now the channel is operating from Beirut, and we hope it will move forward to be the true voice of the peaceful uprising in the South.
Washington and other countries believe that you receive funding and support from Iran. The U.S. envoy in Sana'a, he even said, let me read to you what he said. We are aware of a southern Yemeni presence in Beirut that has been used as a channel for Iranian support for obstruction in southern Yemen. He's referring to your movement.
They have the right to say what they wish. But did they talk to us to find out the truth? To verify these rumors and speculations? Political malice is well known, but we were not contacted by the Americans.
Would you be willing to open contacts with them?
We have no objection if they want to contact us. We are prepared to talk to them and to others. The role that the United States is playing in the Middle East and Yemen in particular is known to all.
Do you think they would understand your cause and support it?
I can't say so, since there is no direct contact. There are reports in media, statements here and there. But when they listen to us and we speak openly, maybe they will understand our position better. I hope Washington will not turn a blind eye to the people of the South, which is occupied.
How would you describe your relationship with the Iranian authorities?
We maintain relations with states all around the world, including Iran, Arab countries, and all member states of the GCC, the Gulf Cooperation Council. We need the assistance and support from all of them.
When was the last time you visited Iran?
No, I did not.
Saudi Arabia?
No, I did not.
What is your relationship with Saudi Arabia, for example? They do have a lot of political weight in Yemen.
I know, but we have no objection if Saudi Arabia pays attention to the cause of South Yemen and key players in the south. No problem for us.
But if there are those who would say that it's in, for example, in Iran's interests, for example, they're believed to support the Houthi rebellion in the north. It would be their interest to have a foothold in the Arabian Peninsula in light of the ongoing rivalry between Iran and Saudi Arabia in the region. So it would be in Iran's interest, for example, to further push such a cause that would reduce Saudi Arabia's influence, for example, in Yemen.
We understand Iran's attention to the Houthis on a sectarian basis as Shiites. But we, in the south, deal with Iran just like any other state. Iran is present in the Gulf region and in the general arena, and the US and even the GCC states are negotiating with Iran.
So what would you say the scale of Iranian involvement, let's say, in the Houthi rebellion?
I have no details, but I understand they have taken a position with regards to the Houthis, simply because they have been through 6 wars. In addition to the injustice there is a sectarian dimension in Iran's dealing with the Houthis. On the other hand, the Houthis were compelled to take a position due to certain circumstances.
How would you describe Saudi Arabia's role with Yemen, in Yemen?
Saudi Arabia is present in the area, in the peninsula. And we had relations with the GCC states when we faced the war with the regime, tribal and military leaders, and other enemies of our cause in Sana'a in 1994. At that time, all the GCC states supported us. The last reaction was the resolution handed down in the GCC meeting in Abha, Saudi Arabia. I hope you will revisit this resolution, which is available online. They stated that a union cannot be imposed by force. And I wonder why they have shifted position. We haven't. We faced a war. Our land is occupied. We are displaced from our homeland, dispersed around the world. Today, Saudi Arabia, together with Washington, are holding a firm grip on the situation in Yemen, in general.
Your political agenda then runs contrary to the Gulf Initiative. Are you trying to collapse this agreement?
No, we are not part of this initiative. It is merely an initiative. We are not part of it. Nor does it carry any weight for us. We have a different goal, which has not been addressed by them until now. But we recently felt there was some sort of careful interest in the cause of South Yemen. We, the people of the South, are capable of raising our cause. We are simply empowered by what is right. We will continue to struggle until we achieve what our people aspire to.
So you will continue to defy the authority of President Hadi, in other words?
I am certain that Hadi is powerless. He has no authority. He can't even give an order to his bodyguard. He who has the power is known to all. It is known to you and to the whole world too. Neither the President nor the Prime Minister has any power. None of them is capable of doing anything. They were placed in these positions only so that they could tell the world there are Southerners holding the reins of power in Yemen. However, the reins of power are in the hands of those who are fighting, the two camps. The division seen in the state, in the army, and in society is fueled by the alliances that have been ruling all these years. They fell apart due to differences, and now there are attempts to mend fences among them. I can say that the good youth of Yemen who took to the streets in peaceful protest, their work was hijacked. They are now helpless.
Then what role do you think the former President Ali Abdullah Saleh is playing in Yemen?
We can say that the influence Ali Abdullah Saleh has enjoyed for 33 years has come to an end. However, he is still present through his associates, in the army or through other alliances. Saleh is still on the scene due to the presence of his affiliates in the army and other institutions, and even in the government itself. But he doesn't have the same influence he had enjoyed for 33 years.
Are you receiving the help of al-Qaeda, which has managed to strengthen their presence in Yemen in light of the instability?
With respect to al-Qaeda, our opposition to them is deep-rooted in history. In 1992, regretfully, al-Qaeda was used against us. After bin Laden returned from Afghanistan to Sana'a, following the establishment of a unified Yemen, all resources were made available to him so that he could act freely. He actually formed al-Qaeda cells, and 150 of our senior members from the former Socialist Party were assassinated.
So if you were in power, how would you handle the Qaeda threat?
Al-Qaeda is a retarded enemy, acting against the people both in the south and the north. However, al-Qaeda is bolstered by the influence of the forces in Sana'a. These forces are present in the alliances of power in Sana'a. Here, in the south, al-Qaeda does not have a platform or incubator. Al-Qaeda is not acceptable in the south, in its ideology, traditions or daily life. Most of al-Qaeda's operatives are either from the northern areas or from abroad, from other countries. If the southerners are given the freedom to choose, they would remove al-Qaeda by all conceivable means in order to maintain security in the south, secure navigation in the Arabian Sea, and also to safeguard our people, simply because al-Qaeda does not have an agenda. Suicide bombers cannot have an agenda.
So, in your opinion, there's no way to save Yemen's unity in your agenda?
It's not because of me. I'm the one who took the initiative. We in the South sacrificed for unity. We offered a state, our system, and more. We gave up senior offices and embraced unity with firm convictions, because it was on the agenda of the Socialist Party, of which I was the Secretary General. But this issue is over, not because of me, but they torpedoed the unity. They throttled it by occupying the South. Now they treat the South as their mansion, a mansion for the Al-Ahmars, and this is not acceptable to us. Enough of them gobbling up our resources. We must put an end to this.
Are you planning to go back to Yemen anytime soon?
Inshallah.
Inshallah, God willing. I hope I will return to Aden, to my homeland, to my people. to my fellow citizens who are struggling daily under harsh conditions. I really hope I can go back and share their pain. We must pave the road for my return. I cannot tell you when it will happen, but I have the desire to return, and I am thinking about this seriously.
Thank you, Mr. al-Beidh, for joining us on Talk to Al Jazeera.
That's it.